Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another episode of Let's Jaliawala. Let's is leadership, enterprise, technology. Three words that I practice, and I bring some amazing people I have met by doing this work, virtue of this work, on this show, and they share their ideas. I'm very happy to have Mr. Yusuf Hussain here with us, who is a tech entrepreneur, angel investor, and a tech enthusiast. And other than that, a lot of other interests as well, which we'll talk about. Currently, he is igniting fire as the CEO Ignite, which is the National Technology Fund. And you'll be very happy to know that it's administered by Ministry of IT, Government of Pakistan. Ignite Fund startups के साथ और innovative ideas पे investments करता है, उनको support करता है, उनके लिए spaces create करता है. This is utilizing the fourth industrial wave tech to solve local problems and target global opportunities. We are seeing Pakistani youngsters eyeing really the global market with their startups, and national incubation centers have a great role to play in that. The sectors that NIC is promoting with all of this entrepreneurial work include health, education, energy, agriculture, telecom, and finance. And all of this, the man who's looking after it at this point is Yusuf Hussain, himself great tech background, Crestsoft, Pakistan Software Export Board. If you're in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, you probably recognize Ignite and Yusuf Hussain. Thank you very much, sir, for being on the show.
Pleasure to be here.
Yes, and it is your birthday today, so very happy birthday.
Thank you, Umair.
Yes, and this is my profile introduction. We fetched that from the LinkedIn and your websites, and we know it's cut to size, it's made perfect for that audience which is going to read. But how do you define yourself, other than the formal introductions?
Well, how do I define myself? I define myself as I'm going to say adventurer. An adventurer who has spent much of his life with introspection and being a student of human nature. Also, I enjoy, for example, hot air ballooning, bungee jumping, and was scheduled to do some parachuting, skydiving, and paragliding in South Africa, but due to inclement weather, that couldn't happen.
Oh, but all these entrepreneurs have such interest as well compared to the people who are on regular jobs doing things. Is it like something that defines entrepreneurs or their traits and how they look at the world?
Entrepreneurs, particularly startups, क्योंकि एक तो होता है entrepreneur running a restaurant or a shop, which are great ways to earn a living as well. और एक होता है a startup, which is innovative. Innovative meaning a new business model, new technology. When you do that, there's a sense of risk, there's a sense of adventure, right? And in my mind, there's got to be a thrill associated with it. Otherwise, your energy does not maintain. So it's the same traits in my mind that a startup entrepreneur has, which also an adventurer has.
And why did you, of course your team must have come together, you called it Ignite. And it's, I said it at the start as well, this is government's initiative and it's been around for quite a while, but now it's branded as Ignite. Why do you call it Ignite?
Well, like you very aptly explained right at the beginning, because we want to make a difference. We want to ignite a change. We can't do everything ourselves, but we want to lit that light, that fire, and we want to spread it. And that's what we are trying to do with our national incubators across the country. You should see the kind of really heartwarming response we've gotten from places like Peshawar and Quetta, how these incubators inspired them. It's so heartwarming. Similarly, if you look at digiskills.pk, which is our own startup, it's like the Amazon of education. It's like a Coursera, it's online. So therefore, it's 1/10 the cost and it's 10 times quicker. We are on target to do about 1 million trainings by 2020 end. If you see the kind of messages we have gotten from places like Nasrabad, Balochistan, Kotli Azad Kashmir, people, we didn't invite this. People wrote on Facebook. Somebody wrote that he was suicidal. And watching this content, because we made sure the content is very motivational as well and it's in Urdu, he says change their life around. There's a lady, the girl out of Balochistan, she said her dad used to be the family earner and he had an accident and he became handicapped, he couldn't work. And she's now through digiskills.pk trained freelancing is now earning more than her dad. So many stories, even trainers. For example, we have a guy, Dr. Yasser, he was part of the edX program at MIT. He was at MIT, and he said that this content is better than that, right? This is his quotation. And he said that he doesn't want to do corporate trainings anymore. Maybe, Umair, you can also take a reflection on that.
Well, I've invited you over. Make a pick, okay?
And he said he wants to take a bus from Karachi to Kashmir and just talk to the digiskills.pk students, because he says it's given his life so much substance, so much meaning to change the lives of these kids around. So this is the positivity. And then, of course, our seed fund, where we fund startups. Like you said, fourth industrial revolution. I'd like to explain that a little bit, because first of all, the concept of innovation. Innovation is the transformation of a product, of an idea or an invention into a product or service that impacts society. So if you invent a light bulb, but you don't have electricity transmission lines, it's not really an innovation. It is just an invention, right? Now, innovation
It's an invention, it's not an innovation. For innovation, does it need the ecosystem? Does it need an enterprise?
Exactly correct. For example, in the case of the light bulb, it needs electricity transmission lines. Then it will spread to thousands or millions of houses. But if it doesn't spread, if it doesn't impact society, it is just an invention or an idea, right?
Wonderful. So we talk about innovation, and there are a lot of disbelievers who say innovation Pakistan में नहीं हो सकती, ecosystem नहीं है, ये startup एक bubble है, जो बन रहा है वो सिर्फ digitize कर रहे हैं services को. I know you have a different point of view. What is that? How do you respond to it?
देखिए बात ये है कि पहले तो मैं just to wrap up from your last question, I really want to appreciate and talk about all the great NIC directors, from Faisal Sherjan to Mohammad Shah to Murtaza Zati and Shah Jahan Chaudhary and Zuhair Khalik, Pervez Abbasi, Atif Reis Khan. It's one of the lessons learned. 90% of incubators around the world have failed since 1965. Israel had 18 that had failed. So we had studied all these before designing a program. The first lesson is it should be run by people who built great companies or funded great companies. And then we've got co-working, we've got curriculum, we've got mentors and coaching and basic services, we've got an alumni network, we have outreach into universities. So there's a lot of thinking behind it.
It's a system that you've installed.
Within which each kind of city and each incubator pursues their own strategy for their particular environment, right? अच्छा, now innovation पे हम आ जाएं, पहली बात तो मैं आपको ये करना चाहता हूँ कि जब तक ये naysayers नहीं होते, तो फिर आपको अगर ये naysayers ना बोल रहे हो कि नहीं हो सकता, तो इसका मतलब है कि you're not taking enough of a risk. तो we like these naysayers. Thank you for the validation. दूसरी बात ये है कि पॉल रोमर, अगर किसी को इकोनॉमिक्स से शौक है, उसको पिछले साल नोबेल प्राइज़ इस बात में मिला है. उसने 1990 में अपना पहला पेपर शाया किया था, पॉल रोमर, क्योंकि मैं एक्चुअली डेनवर में 10 साल था और वो उसके गवर्नर का बेटा है. तो बट ही गॉट हिज नोबेल प्राइज नाउ फॉर वाइड स्प्रेड एक्सेप्टेंस ऑफ हिज आइडियाज इन गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी मेकिंग. एंड व्हाट इज हिज कोर आइडिया? हिज कोर आइडिया इज दैट द मेन इम्पेडिमेंट टू डेवलपमेंट is old ways of thinking, old habits, and self-imposed limitations. Self-imposed limitations. अभी सोचें कि अगर चीन में जब इनका 1978 में शुरू हुआ था, उधर भी बड़े ऐसे लोग होंगे भी किस उस पे जा रहे हो, कैसे इतनी टेक्नोलॉजी ट्रांसफ़र कर रहे हो या इनोवेशन कर रहे हो. अभी चीन ने बोला है कि हम 2030 तक नंबर 1 AI पावर होंगे वर्ल्ड में. बड़े लोगों ने बोला होगा कि नहीं हो सकता, ये नहीं हो सकता. Could anybody have believed what China achieved? So then also there must be a lot of naysayers. Na? So in naysayers को हमने जो है जाहिर है टैकल करना है, because negativity is like a cancer. It's a main thing which kind of sucks out your energy, and we have to keep going. And हमने जब digiskills.pk किया तो half the people laughed at us because हमारा budget is about 700 rupees per trainee, जबकि और प्रोग्राम 50,000 लाख रुपए पर ट्रेनी है. और हमारा जो टारगेट है वो कुछ 100 गुना ज़्यादा है. It's 1 million people by end of 2020 versus 1,000 a year. Literally, so people laughed. Half the people laughed, half said that it's going to be a waste of money. So, but we went on. We did 6 months of rigorous research, Facebook, Google, Coursera, IBM. We कोई 30 और के साथ हमने brainstorming की, हमने surveys किए, हमने interview किया Fiverr और Odesk के लोगों को, हमने internet research की future of work पे, फिर हमने पूरा एक plan बनाया एक दिन का कि the overall environment, Pakistan trends, charting a course, dropping anchor, हमने कर marine theme लिखी थी. और हमने हर session में of this 2 hours each we presented 20 propositions for yay or nay. Now, 95% of whatever we said was validated because we had done our research. और अल्लाह के फजल से, अल्लाह के करम से, we are hitting our targets till now. There are other mountains to climb, but we are hitting our targets. And the moment it's free, but the moment we monetize it, people are willing to pay about $5 a month. It becomes right now maybe an $80 million company, according to one VC, digiskills.pk.
Inshallah, all the best for that. All the best for that. Lovely to know this. And all these NICs are working with young people, mostly young people, and their ideas, and they come in and they go through the incubation cycle. If you had to give some quick tips for the young people watching, if they are planning to start out, what is it that you have seen is what stops them from becoming great or being able to thrive in, despite the fact there's so much opportunity, but most of them shut down? Part of it is, of course, the startup culture and the way it works. But is there anything that especially Pakistani young people should be mindful of, should do to ensure that they make the most of this?
The single biggest, अगर मैं किसी को कोई message दूँ, वो है 2 words, which is self-knowledge. What fires you up? You can be a great lawyer, you can be a great doctor, you can be a great tour operator or a rickshaw driver. Or you can have a great startup. Find that inner voice. Sometimes बहुत ज़्यादा बाहर लोगों की जो advice है वो आपके सर में गूंज रही होती है और मैं कौन हूँ, मैं क्या चाहता हूँ, वो kind of दब जाता है. तो उसको थोड़ी ग़िज़ा देना और उस पे थोड़ा सोचना और कभी-कभी ऐसे experiences होते हैं जो उस inner voice को उभारते हैं. तो वो करना, क्योंकि वो जब होती है तो फिर आप में एनर्जी होती है, आप में परसिवेरेंस होती है जो बड़ी ज़रूरी है एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप में, क्योंकि बड़े धक्के लगते हैं. आपकी क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग होती है, आप ज़रा दिमाग लड़ाते हैं जो भी बड़ा ज़रूरी है. और जब आप प्रोस्पेक्टिव एम्प्लॉय से या पार्टनर से या इन्वेस्टर से या कस्टमर से मिलते हैं तो आप एनिमेटेड होते हैं, आप में एनर्जी होती है क्योंकि आप वो इनर वॉइस इन टच है. यू कैन नीड ऑल दीज थिंग्स to go forward.
You talk about self-knowledge, and that reminded me that you went through a deadly fall. And you have, mashallah, not only survived it, but have come out even stronger. And I think that's a great story for all of us. Please tell us a few bit about it.
It was 31st August 2016, and I was trekking to the base camp of Ultar Mountain, which is a 24,000 feet peak in Hunza. And I had a fall. I fell about 70 feet. I, broke my back through and through in 2 places. I dilated my pelvis, fractured in 5 locations. My right leg came out. My left shoulder was crushed. So I went through a pretty bad situation. I was bedridden, and then one has to, kind of relearn to sit and to wash your face and everything. So I did go through that. And I must say, I really felt, and I still do, that when I was falling, I felt like I was in the hand of God. I really felt it would be okay. I mean, that didn't mean that anything could have happened. I could have died like this or become a quadriplegic very easily. 1 inch this side or that side, you're dead or a quadriplegic. But whatever, I just felt I'd be okay. And a lot of people who've met me since then, they tell me now that they thought I wouldn't make it because just looking at me. But they didn't want to say it back then, except 1 or 2 did. But by the grace of God, full recovery and no pain, even in winter. And I can do, like I told you, more push-ups today than I've ever been able to in my life. देखें, अल्लाह ताला, जैसे गांधी साहब ने एक्सप्लेन किया था कि अल्लाह ताला का या कहर नाजिल होता है या अल्लाह ताला आपका इम्तिहान लेता है. और दोनों में फ़र्क कैसे पता चलता है, ये उनसे किसी ने सवाल किया. तो उन्होंने बोला कि अगर आप अल्लाह ताला के करीब आ जाते हैं तो ये इम्तिहान था जिसका मकसद था कि आपकी परवाज़ और ऊंची हो और बेहतर हो. और कभी-कभी I guess कहर हो तो वो दूसरी बात है.
We'll take a break and we'll come back for two final rounds. One is rapid fire, a quick question answers, and one thing that we asked you to bring to this. Hope you have brought something. Thank you. We're going to do a very interesting round. This is the rapid fire. So be as quick as you can. Let's make it fun. Number one, your role model in life.
Qaid-e-Azam.
One thing that annoys you the most.
People who don't think through before asking questions.
Thank you. What did you want to be as a child?
I wanted to be a king.
What's the first thing you do when you wake up?
I lie in bed and absorb the moment.
What one technology can transform Pakistan at this point?
Artificial intelligence.
A book that you've read multiple times.
Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
A TV show that you'd recommend.
Muzakrat.
One habit that you want to change about yourself.
Sometimes become negative.
3 startups you'd put your bet on.
Park Whiting, Electrocure, and Easy Pesa.
Success for you in one word.
Self-fulfillment.
What do you want to leave behind?
Seriously, don't want to leave anything behind. I just want to do what my heart says is the right thing, and if I leave nothing behind, that's fine.
We also asked you to show us something that is of meaning to you, something from your closet, something that you've collected. So what do you have for us?
Well, I was in South Africa in October, and I purchased this statue which just grabbed my heart when I saw it. It was the statue of a Zulu warrior standing on one foot because the sand is very hot, and very lithe and very centered in nature, and with a long sword, with a dart gun, and then with a spear so that prey could be carried. But I don't. What intrigues me about the statue is not the martial aspect, the fact that it's a warrior, because the warrior is there only to eat. So they are hunting prey down so they can eat and they can survive, and they are very plugged into nature, and therefore I found a spirit of independence, yet in kind of consonance and harmony with the environment and the universe.
Wow. And I was doing a wrap up, but there is just so much more that keeps coming out, and you must check out the Ignite website and Yusuf Hussain, the man. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out the time on a very special day. I hope I have not ruined it for you, and I hope that the response you receive on this will perhaps brighten you up even more. And may you live long and have more and more push-ups every year. And looking forward to great fire coming out of Ignite. Thanks a lot. Until next time.